So I started on this gauge cluster project, that being swapping out the LEDs. So you can see I've kind of already got it apart here, but basically for this section here, the actual metal housing, all it is there's a fastener right here that is located back here, and you can tip the cowl up to get there. And then there's a fastener here. So once you undo this one, you can actually like hinge the whole thing down, and then the connector's plugged in the back. So you just simply unplug the connector, remove this fastener here, and the whole thing just kind of comes off with everything in hand. It's installed around the main piece, the whole entire unit when it's still assembled. So if you look here, you'll have these 4 screws that you can see how they line up. Once you take those out, you get this whole housing out, right? And then this comes with it. So then you just carefully lift these tabs off of these here to make sure you don't break this. God, that would be a pain, wouldn't it? So we'll get that out of the way. And then you have to take this soft aluminum ring, and you can kind of see I just got a flathead screwdriver, worked it up in there, and just kind of did like a twisting motion to lift it a little bit as I went. And then once I got one side loose, I was able to just pull this off. So now if that's done, then what you will have, they're actually in there in the other room on my desk, but there's some 5-point tamper resistant Torx. They're like right here, and of course I didn't have 5-point Torx. I have all the other ones, but I didn't have those. So I just took the same really tiny flathead screwdriver and kind of just pressed it in there in between the stud in the middle, and then the side of it, and just slowly worked them loose. They were coarse threads, so it was fine. From there, the needles were on it, so I took 2 spoons and kind of popped them off. And work this one under there too, and then just sort of, yep. It honestly feels like you're gonna break something, but I did this on a cluster in a car I used to own, and it was the same way. I was like, man, am I gonna break something? And I did. Got so much dust. I did a bunch of research, and everybody's like, yeah, it's gonna feel like you're breaking them off, so just go for it. It's like, okay. So basically, yeah, so this faceplate assembly is actually like attached to this. I unscrewed that to pull this out to give myself more slack in the wires here. But it's actually attached. There's some little tabs that you can see right here through these slots. All you do is just pop those back with your finger, and then this comes off. Basically what I've done is, you can actually see the difference in the LEDs. I have desoldered the factory LEDs in place of some nice bright white ones that I have here. And I'll be sure to post this information on where I got these and what the costs were. I think it was like $15 or $16 with shipping to buy all of these, and I bought extras because if you're like me and you've never done this before, you will damage or possibly break a couple. That's just part of it, And so I realized I flew through this yesterday, soldering all this stuff, all these on, and the ones that are yellow here that you can see, they're the actual gauge sweeps, and this is the LCD odometer readout. So, and then I left one just so I can get it on video. I think I set my temperature on my soldering iron here to like 350 degrees, and this just came part of an Amazon kit, by the way. So I guess I can put the link for that too. The tip looks like it's still nicely tinned from last night. We can just kind of give it a quick cleaning. Now, I'm going to preface this with, I am not an expert in this at all. This is my first time doing this. I watched a couple videos and was like, hey, I think I can do this. So whether this is the right way or, I'm completely wrong in how I'm doing this, it is what it is, it works. One thing you'll notice, before I desolder this, these are actually indexed. If you look like, I don't know if I'll be able to pick this up on the GoPro. If you look like really, really closely on the corner of this, you can see there's like a little triangle notch taken out. That indexes it for the direction of the current flow. You can actually see it on some of these better, and you can see my god-awful soldering jobs on some of these. So what I did is I took my red permanent marker, I put a little dab right there to tell me basically which corner I needed to have it on. And then from there, I can take it and I can just kind of I grab onto it with the tweezers, heat up the existing solder a little bit, and then kind of bend it up. And then now that side of the pad is detached. And then come over here to the other side. Then I can just sort of, yep, and it melts immediately. Perfect. So that's the old one. We don't need it anymore. There's a small amount of solder left on there, and I don't have a soldering wick, and I have like this, and then I have like an actual like pump inside my kit there where you can like push the plunger down and hit the button and it'll suck it up. It doesn't have enough suction to really pull that little amount off. That's where the wick comes in. I don't have a wick, so I'm just gonna deal with it. Basically what you do, you take your Flux Pen, make sure it's actually feeding, yep, and you just put a little bit on there. There you go. Now what usually happens when you put that Flux Pen on there, it ends up hitting my red mark and it just like washes it off. That's where all this red crap is. So that's how you lose your indexing basically if you don't set it up ahead of time like I did. So basically I just touch it here and feed a little bit more on. Same thing for the feed a little bit more on. Perfect. You can see it kind of goes hazy. It tells you the flux is on it. I don't really know if I'm supposed to flex it again before I actually seed it, or I'm not sure. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert. It seems to work, whatever. Then what I do here, this is the tricky part. Okay. Take it and I try to line it up as best I can. Kind of, sort of. And then just melt that a little bit, and then it locks that one down. And then I come over here to the other side, and I make sure to hold it stable in case it wants to move. And I just tap that little bit. And then what I found is that it usually needs a little bit more on the other side after you seat it and actually get it to adhere. So I come in here like this and just add a hair more, and then it's usually good. Now for the fun stuff. I'm not gonna put it back in the housing. I'm just gonna very, very carefully take these and get the pins to just enough to make contact inside this connector. Because believe me, you get this thing in here too tight and it's a freaking pain to get back out. So I just wanna get power to it so I can verify that all my LEDs work and everything. So here's the funny thing about this too. Since the engine's out, obviously, the engine is like the common ground for all the electrical system. Well, it's gone. So what I had to do is I had to take, there's 4 separate ground straps here that kind of go on each, the cam cover or the head, I don't remember. And then this guy actually attaches to the front cam cover as well as its own separate piece. And then there's the chassis ground down there. So all I did is I just basically bonded all these together and then, you know, linked my chassis ground here. And this is actually the one that will connect the bike. And you can actually see that's the key light there. It's connected. Let's turn off the lights. And it's still daylight outside, so I mean it's not going to give you the full effect, but whatever. And then making absolutely sure my ignition switch is in the off position, because if this is in the run position, I will get doused in gasoline from the fuel pump. I don't want that. So absolutely sure it's in off, yes. And I mean, I guess I could throw it an accessory, but there's no fun in that. You don't get to see the rest of the lights. So boom, there they are. And it's probably incredibly washed out in the video, but you know, whatever. So then I like to take this thing. I've actually not seen this yet. That is amazing. That looks so much better. I need to change these to red. That's gonna be my next mission. This is awesome. So much better than stock. And you know, it won't look like absolute trash next to the Power Vision now, since its gauge readouts are obviously, you know, like modern and all that. There are these really tiny LEDs, this one and this one. You know, these 3 and then these ones on the gauge clusters, and then obviously these big ones that match the surface mounts that I have for like the rest, this one and this one. Those are actually red. So like this is the RPM sweep. So when you hit red line, it actually indicates this one red and turns the needle red. It's pretty cool. Same with this one. When your fuel level gets down and I think the fuel light kicks on, it turns your needle red instead of just being orange like everything else, which that's the red LED. So I think what I'm going to do, since I'm going to have white sweeps and red needles now, I basically have to take these guys here, my red ultra brights, and try to fit them onto these little tiny pads. I just have to be careful of, like, you might be able to kind of see, maybe not, down in here. There's not a lot of clearance down in here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but yeah, there's not a lot of clearance, so I have to make sure that when I put these on, basically I get as close to the shaft of the motor as I can. I think it'll be okay. But that's the last thing I have to do. After this, I'll come back and I'll do an update once I actually get it completely done. So we'll pick up in the future. Stay tuned. What's going on? So this is like 2 months after the fact now of the whole, you know, LED gauge cluster thing, because I suck at filming outros. It's always like the first 90% of something is really easy to do, and the last 10% just takes all the time. So if you watch any of my other videos, you know the night rod's been running for a little over a month now, something like that. Ignore this. I seem to have sprung a little bit of a leak there on the distribution block, so I need to probably get on replacing that. But yeah, so this is the finished product of the gauge cluster. Let me kill the lights. The videos never do it justice, I swear. The power vision is going to kind of wash it out, probably. Okay, let me play with the settings here a little bit, see if I can get something to... Okay, that's... I kind of turned down the... Yeah, you can see here if I turn down like it's like contrast or exposure or something, I don't know. I'm on my phone, so bear with me. It still really doesn't do it any justice, honestly. Kind of, sort of, but yeah, I'll take a picture, and I'll throw the picture up like right here and kind of edit it so that I can get it to actually show up. So yeah, this is the finished product. So yeah, way better than what it was stock, obviously. It wasn't really too difficult to do. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, it was super easy to do. I highly recommend it on this bike, and you know, any other thing that you think has a crappy gauge cluster, go for it. It is honestly so easy, and it's so worth the upgrade. It makes it seem like it's just completely brand new. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Helps me see, you know, the channel grow, and kind of, you know, keeps me motivated. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.